Good evening, my name is Garrett, and welcome to The Last Call. On tonight's verses, we have Widow Jane, a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys, coming in at a 45.5% ABV, at least 10 years old, versus Russell's Reserve Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, coming in at a 45% ABV, at least 10 years old. So, 10-year age statement bourbons they can be found around. Sometimes they're a lot more expensive. However, both of these are fairly budget-friendly in most markets. However, here in Indiana, this is about half the cost of one of these. Now, this is a blend of bourbons coming from Kentucky, Indiana, and Tennessee, where this is just straight up Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. So the question comes down to not necessarily which one is better overall, but which one's the best bang for your buck with its profile. So it's going to be kind of hard to really do an A-B comparison because of mash bill differences, location differences, but you might see these on the shelf and go, why do I want this over this, or vice versa? I hope to answer that today. Let's get into it. Now, it's been a minute since I've had Widow Jane, but it was a pretty decent bottle if I remember right. Either way, as always, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hang around for a bit, become a member if you'd like. If you're interested in individual reviews over these or other 10-year age statement bourbons, those will be linked up above and down below. Alrighty. But yeah, I feel like Russell's Reserve can be that good tried and true bottle. I usually recommend it for a lot of people just because it's really accessible, but you're getting a lot of great flavors in there. And I always forget I actually have a bottle of Widow Jane. I'll be honest. Color-wise, good lord, they are darn close. If anything, the Widow Jane here is slightly darker, but it is darn close. All right, let's start on notes for the Widow Jane. Yeah, man, that is a good nose. It's sweet. Get a lot of that kind of burnt sugars and a little bit of oakiness in there. It's a classic bourbon, but the big thing for me is probably you can find a bit of that Tennessee whiskey in here. But you definitely get that bit of like orange vitamin minerality going on. That little bit of spiciness is coming through, bringing a little bit of black pepper and just a little bit of rye grain bread notes going on. You get a little bit of charriness from the barrel itself, and that kind of brings out those wood sugars and a little bit of spiciness from that. If I had to guess, there's probably one of the mash bills has some wheat in it because I'm getting a little bit of spiciness, almost like a cedar note going on. Nice little bit of oiliness in there as well, but honestly has a really solid body for the nose. All right, let's go for notes on the Russell's Reserve. And that's just good old classic Russell's Reserve on the nose. Like, you're getting those sweet characteristics, little corn sweetness, butteriness going on. And then you're getting a nice charry oak notes. You don't get any of that minerality showing up. No ABV, nothing harsh, no off notes. You just get a nice solid classic bourbon. Those rye grains showing up, a little bit of spice. You definitely get a little bit of cracked pepper, but for me, it's the corn sweetness in this one. You get that kind of husky, dusty corn note going on. But even at that 10-year age statement, it really just rounds things off. So it's not like super spiky or harsh in any of those notes. A little bit of waxiness going on here from the barley build. Really solid nose. It's like the poster child for Kentucky straight bourbon whiskeys. I just love that nose. All right, let's start on taste for the Widow Jane. And that's a really solid sip. You are getting that George Dickel on the taste, that minerality, kind of orange crush note going on. But then it kind of rolls into the more rye spiciness layers, a little bit of corn sweetness, and then it keeps building onto it with a kind of oakiness showing up in here. It's actually a lot oakier than I remember it being, in a good way. Because you're getting those kind of barrel tannins and that kind of deep wood sugars, a little bit of spice from the barrel itself, the nice layer of caramel richness going on, and just a few dashes of vanilla. It's sweet, and it's interesting on how that transition goes, because it does start off with that minerality note, and then that orange note showing up, and then it kind of rolls into a classic bourbon at the end. It's really a solid pour, as long as you're not afraid of George Dickel. Getting a little more sweetness going on here, almost like a candy, almost, I want to say like a candy necklace sweet. And it's just that kind of sugary sweet going on. Totally approachable. It's got a great solid palate to it. A little spice, a little sweet. And it really does a good job overall showcasing the 3 whiskeys from 3 different regions that they use to make this. It doesn't drink youthful. Even with some 10-year-old whiskeys, you can get a bit of youth in there depending on where they're sourcing things from or what they're doing. And it does not come across that way at all. Alrighty, let's go for taste on the Russell's Reserve. I love that. It's sweet, it's buttery corn off the grill, a little bit of spiciness going on. Now, I will say, on the taste at least, it does have a little bit more of a bitterness to it right now for me. And I don't typically find that, so I might just because I followed it up after that, so understand that much. But I'm getting a bit of bitterness in there. And it's almost like a youthful bite to it. And it doesn't have as much cling, in my opinion, as the Widow Jane. But it overall is a great sipping whiskey. And again, for one, in its price range, typically, this would be easy for a mixed cocktail or just enjoying it neat as well. Love the wood sugar showing up. That caramely sweetness is in there. There's a nice bit of oakiness in there. It's not over oaked or not quite as oaky as the Widow Jane, in my opinion, but just has a good solid profile overall. It's nice and classic and just honestly is a good sipper for me. I'm loving that bit of black pepper. That rice spiciness is there. It's just a really good sip. I can't argue with it at all. All right, well, who's the winner in this situation? Well, typically here in Indiana, I can find this for about $30, upwards to $40 sometimes. Where here on the Widow Jane, I can typically find this at about $65, all the way up to maybe closer to $75 range. Really just depends on where I'm shopping. It really kind of boils down to one big thing. If you don't mind George Dickel, that kind of minerality taste that shows up, this is a great pour. I think it has a little bit better body. It's got a little bit better cling than the Russell's Reserve. However, that minerality at that first hit your palate can be off for some people, and I respect that. Whereas the Russell's Reserve, for $30 here in Indiana, this is a steal of a bottle. Easy, again, for cocktails, enjoying it neat. Whatever you want to do with this, you want to put it into an infinity bottle, this is a great bottle for its price point. Even at a little bit more expensive pricing at $35 to $40, it's still a great buy. At the end of the day, it is going to come down to your personal preference and how much you're willing to spend on a whiskey. If this is $40 and this is $65, and you got that little bit of expendable cash and you don't mind George Dickel, try the Widow Jane. I think it's a really good pour. Now, at the end of the day, I think Russell Reserve still wins it for the flavor to price comparison. However, if money's out of the way, I don't mind a little bit of George Dickel in there, and I think this is a great little blend. So yeah, there you have it, folks. Widow Jane 10 years versus Russell's Reserve 10 years. If you have questions about either bottle, let me know down in the comment section below. I will do my best to answer it. And if you have any specific bottles I should put up against each other, also let me know down below. Love doing these A/B comparisons, helps me learn, and hopefully helps you make a smarter decision with your wallet. And as always, may your last drink of the night be the best one.
You know, I really like it might not.